Hi everyone, welcome to the session where you're gonna get an opportunity to give a mock test. This class will help you analyze your current level, what's your score, and of course, why a particular answer is the correct answer. So welcome back to the channel Unacademy IELTS, and if you still haven't subscribed to the channel, do that. Okay, so I'm going to first start with the listening test for your convenience. Then we'll move on to questions from speaking, writing, and reading. After the end of the test, you will get the answer keys to check your answers. Now, remember to keep a blank paper and pen with you, or a notebook and pen with you. You still have a minute's time before I begin, so just go quickly and grab a pen paper. Remember to install the Unacademy Learning app, because that's where you're going to find all the amazing classes and lessons from the top educators in India. From tomorrow, that is the 1st of April, multiple new courses are starting. Even I'm starting a course on writing, listening, reading, speaking. There's a course on grammar, vocabulary, etc. So yeah, I suggest you to install the Unacademy Learning app and come join us in those courses. There are of course some free classes, but these long-term preparation courses are only for plus students. To become a plus student, you have to take an Unacademy Plus subscription. There are multiple subscription options available, like a 1 month subscription, 3 month, 6 and 12, etc. And for each of these subscriptions, when you use the code AAYUSHI, you get 10% or 20% off depending on the subscription. So yeah, remember to do that. Now see, this is an example. You can see how there are various courses on basic English, writing, grammar, speaking, listening and reading, etc. All right then, let's begin. And remember, if you have any doubts, you want to talk to me, you want to get in touch with me regarding the subscription or regarding the study plan, then this is my Telegram channel. Install the Telegram app and this is the channel. Search this or look for this, IELTS by Aayushi. IELTS by AAYUSHI. This is it. Alright. So I'm just going to move to the listening exercises. Now remember, in the listening exam, you have to multitask a lot, okay? And yeah, one thing, multitasking. Secondly, there are some pauses in the recording only, and use those pauses to read the questions and also use them to read the instructions. For example, in this particular question, what are the instructions? No more than one word or a number. So the answers have to be given using a word or a number. Right then. Actually, it's better to start with reading. They'll be better for you. Because once you get bored of reading, you can do listening. Right, so this is your section 1. Let me give you general instructions. I hope most of the students would already know them. But still, for your reading test, second. Yeah. So for your reading test, you will get approximately 60 minutes, okay? And now you have to use that time wisely. How to manage the timing everywhere, just be very attentive towards that, okay? Right, so this is your section 1. There are 3 sections in the examination, and just read the passage. After that, we'll move to the questions. And I'm going to leave a pause here so that you people can pause it according to your own wishes, okay? So this is section 1. If you want to pause, you can pause now. Now, these are your questions for section 1. Section 1 has 2 recordings. This is recording number 2. Sorry, passage number 2. And these are your questions for passage number 2. Then you will move to section 2, passage, questions, passage number 2 for section 2, questions, section 3, one long passage, and then questions. Alright, so yeah, let's start now. I'm going to give you enough time to read the passages, so don't worry. Yeah, these are the questions. Okay, moving to the next passage, guys. Okay, now these are the true false not given questions from this particular passage. Now, section 2, read the passage. Yes, you must have read it by now. These are the questions that you've got to solve. Now, you can, of course, go back and forth, look at the first question, but at the same time, remember the instructions. You have to answer in one word only. The first question is, it's a mistake to specify your dash in past positions. So find out your answer from here. Second, do not include a description of your dash in life. Include soft skills such as an ability to dash successfully. think hard about the position so you can ensure that the information in your application is dash. Make the dash between your abilities and the job you're applying for clear. Just to make sure whether your answer is correct or not, you can read the entire sentence together and check it for grammatical errors. That will be a big hint if you have chosen the correct answer, because if your answer is correct, then the whole sentence will make sense and it will be grammatically perfect. Now, the last one. Do not be too dash about what you can do. Now remember, your answers are in an order. If the answer for the first blank was in the first paragraph, then answer for the last blank will be in the bottom one or two paragraphs. So they follow an order: first answer, second answer, third answer, and as you move down in the paragraph, you move to each coming answer. Alright, the next passage then. Um, these are the questions. You have to choose one or two words. Sorry, you have to choose one word only and or a number from the text for each answer. So now if this is question number 1, question number 21, which position is the certificate intended for? Read the passage, choose the word, write that word. So just quickly read the question so that you will get a fair idea what are you looking for in the passage. Which position is the certificate intended for? How many days must a student without a PHS certificate study? What is the last stage of the construction process that is covered by the course? For how long does a PHS certificate count towards the HNS certificate? What do students learn to identify and deal with in Unit 2? What type of examination is used for Unit 3? And what will a grant pay for? Remember the keywords like certificate, position, PHS, HNS, Unit 2, learning, examination, Unit 3, and grant. These are your keywords. Okay, this page 1 of the passage. Right, must have read it. Next one. All right. Now these are your questions. Find out the answer, guys. Alright, now section 3, this passage is going to be longer and a bit more complicated. Before you start reading, just understand the questions. So one, you have match the heading questions. You have to match the heading with the passage number, with the paragraph number. And secondly, you have some fill in the blank questions. Yeah, that's all. Next few paragraphs. Alright, the next page. Yeah, so these will be the next questions from the passages. You have to match which paragraph could match with these headings. Now remember, the number of paragraphs here are 7, but the headings are 10, so be very careful. Right, the next set of questions now, these blanks that you have to fill by reading the passage. Right, so I hope this would have been done. Now the next one, the last three questions, guys. Okay, remember the instructions, one word only. Okay, now listening. So just make a note for question 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Just start numbering till 40. So just number from 1 to 40 and then I'm going to play the recordings for you.
You will hear a conversation between an assistant at a community centre and a man who wants to join some evening classes. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6.
This is the pause in the recording.
Hello, Eastwood Community Centre.
Oh, hello. My name's Andrew Dyson. I'm calling about the evening classes you offer.
Okay, Mr. Dyson. Are there any classes in particular that you're interested in?
Yes, you've got a class called Painting with Watercolours, I believe.
That's right. It's a popular class, so this term it'll be moving to the hall, so they've got more room.
Right. I know it's on Tuesdays, but what time exactly?
It was 6:30 last term, but let me just have a look at the details. Okay, it'll be 7:30 this time. Probably it suits more people.
Well, it's my wife who's really interested, and that'll be good for her because she's home from work by 7:15. That'll give her just enough time to get there. What does she need to bring?
Okay, well, paints are provided by the tutor, I know that. The information says she'll need just a jar for water and some pencils for drawing. There are also lots of aprons here, so she needn't worry what she's wearing. And the cost for 4 classes is $45, including paints, as I said.
Okay. Now, we're both quite keen on the Maori language class.
There are spaces on the next course, so you could join that.
Oh, good. Which room will that be in?
When you come in through the entrance of the community centre building, you'll need to go straight up the stairs in front of you, all the way to the top, and it's the small room you'll find there.
I see. All right, and let me just check when it's starting. I heard from someone that the July course has been delayed until August.
I'm afraid so, and we're halfway through the June course at the moment, so there's not much point you taking that.
I guess we'll have to wait then.
Well, when you do come, the tutor recommends bringing a small recorder with you, just so you can listen again later. And the cost for 5 classes is currently $40.
Okay, useful information to know. There's one more class I'm interested in. That's the digital photography class.
Oh, I've taken that class myself. The tutor's very good. That'll be in room 9, and it's starting in 2 weeks' time, in the evening, every Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
Obviously I need to bring the camera with me. I suppose it'd be useful to have the instructions that go with the camera too?
I'd say so. Some people bring along a lot of accessories like extra lenses, but there's really no need for this class. It's mainly focusing on composition, really, and getting the most out of the basic camera.
That's exactly what I need. And how much does it cost?
Let's see. For 4 classes, it's $35. But if you take 8, it works out as $55. So you're making a bit of a saving. $15, that is.
I see.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at the questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Okay, now just another question for the watercolours class. I've just remembered that my wife asked me to find out about the level. Who's it for?
Okay, well, you don't have to be very skilled or anything like that. It's designed for beginners, actually. People who might see art as a hobby rather than as a professional opportunity.
That sounds like my wife. And who do I talk to if I want to find out some more about the Maori language classes?
Probably best to talk to the tutor directly. He'll be in the office in about half an hour. His name's Jason Kuai. That's Kahui.
Good. I'll give him a call.
Oh, if you do decide to come to the photography class, don't forget to look at your camera battery and make sure it's charged. I know it sounds obvious, but I've seen a few people suddenly find the cameras stopped working right in the middle of class.
Yes, I can imagine it'd be easy to forget that. Oh, that reminds me. In the final week of the photography course, is it right that there's a visit to a show in the local area? I work in the city, you see, so I might have to come home early for that one.
Yes, they'll decide the date once the class has started. Is there anything else I can...
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Recording 52. You will hear a project manager talking to voluntary workers about the tasks that need to be done. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14.
Good morning. It's great to see so many people here. Thank you all very much for coming. Well, as you know, the community gardens at Hadley Park are really not looking as good as they should. Quite bad, really. And although the local council has a budget to deal with some of the problems, we do need volunteers for other tasks. If you don't mind, I'm going to divide you into 2 groups. So everyone on this side of the room is Group A, and the rest of you are Group B. So, Group A, there are a couple of things we'd like you to help with. First of all, don't worry about any litter or empty bottles you see lying about. One local schools has offered to help out with that as part of their own environmental project. The priority for you will be to give us a hand with the new wooden fencing. It needs constructing along parts of the bicycle track, as there are parts which have now fallen down or broken, as I'm sure you've seen. You've probably also noticed that some of the pathways that come from the bicycle track are quite narrow, and there are plans to make them wider, but the council will be dealing with that later in the year. And they've also promised to produce some informational signs about the plants in the gardens. Hopefully, they'll be up in a few weeks' time. The other thing we're doing is getting rid of some of the foreign species that are growing in the gardens and putting back some native plants and trees. So you'll be doing some digging for us and getting those into the ground. So, Group A, there's some items you'll need to bring along with you. I was going to say raincoats, but the forecast has changed, so you can leave those at home. I'd definitely recommend a strong pair of boots. Waterproof would be best. It's quite muddy at the moment, And your own gloves would also be advisable. Tools will be available, spades and hammers, that kind of thing. You just need to make sure they go back in the trucks. And there's no need to worry about food and drink, as we'll be supplying sandwiches and coffee, possibly some biscuits even.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at the questions 15 to 20.
This is a trick in the map kind of questions. Always find the starting point. Where is the woman starting this conversation? Is she starting from car park? Is she starting from the fruit bushes? Find the starting point once she starts speaking. And then follow the directions. Just write this is. This will be more.
Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
East, west.
Okay, Group B, your turn. Does everyone have a copy of the plan? Oh, great. Okay. We'll all be meeting in the car park. That's on the bottom of the plan. See? Now, if you've been assigned to the vegetable beds, to get there, you go out of the car park and go up the footpath until you reach the circle of trees. There they are, in the middle of the plan. And you see that the footpath goes all the way around them. Well, on the left-hand side of that circular footpath, there's a short track which takes you directly to the vegetable beds. You can see a bamboo fence marked just above them. All right? Okay, if you're helping out with the beehives, pay attention. Look again at the circle of trees in the middle of the plan and the footpath that goes around them. On the right side of that circle, you can see that the footpath goes off in an easterly direction, heading towards the right-hand side of the plan. And then the path splits into two, and you can either go up or down. You want the path that heads down. And at the end of this, you see two areas divided by a bamboo fence. And as we're looking at the plan, the beehives are on the right of the fence. The smaller section, I mean. Now, don't worry, all the bees have been removed. You just need to transport the hives back to the car park. Okay. For the seating, look at the circular footpath. At the top of it, there's a path that goes from there and takes you up to the seating area, alongside the bicycle track, and with a good view of the island, I suppose. Okay, if you're volunteering for the adventure playground area, let's start from the car park again and go up the footpath, but then you want the first left turn. Go up there, and then you see there's a short path that goes off to the right. Go down there, and that's the adventure playground area, above the bamboo fence. That fence does need repairing, I'm afraid. Right, what else? Oh yes, the sand area. We've got that circular footpath in the middle. Find the track that goes east towards the right-hand side of the plan. And where that track divides, you need the little path that goes up towards the bicycle track. The sand area is just above the bamboo fence there. And finally, the pond area. So it's on the left-hand side of your plan, towards the top, just above the fruit bushes and to the left of the little path. Okay, as I said already, hopefully...
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Recording 53. You will hear two students discussing a presentation they are going to give. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Robert.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I was just printing off some pages about food waste in Britain.
Do you want to include Britain in the presentation? I thought we were concentrating on the USA.
Well, it is a global problem, so I thought we ought to provide some statistics that show that.
Fair enough. What did you find out?
Well, I was looking at a British study from 2013. It basically concluded that 12 billion pounds worth of food and drink was thrown away each year, all of it ending up in landfill sites. Over 8 million tons. And that wasn't including packaging.
An incredible amount.
Yes, and they were only looking at what households threw away. So there's no information about restaurants and the catering industry. But one thing the study did investigate was the amount of milk and soft drinks that were wasted. And I think it was probably quite unique in that respect.
Interesting. You know, in the other European reports I've read, there's one thing they have in common when they talk about carbon dioxide emissions.
I know what you are going to say. They never refer to the fuel that farms and factories require to produce the food and the carbon dioxide that releases.
Exactly. We could really cut down on carbon emissions if less food was supplied in the first place. To my mind, the reports talk too much about the carbon dioxide produced by the trucks that deliver the fresh goods to the shops and take the waste away. They forget about one of the key causes of carbon dioxide.
Absolutely. If the reports are actually going to be useful to people, they need to be more comprehensive.
Who do you mean by people?
Well, the government, industries, people making television programs. Have you seen any documentaries about food waste?
Not that I remember.
My point exactly. These days, they all seem to be focusing on where your meat, fruit, and vegetables are sourced from. We're being encouraged to buy locally, not from overseas. That's probably a good thing, but I'd still like to see something about waste.
Yes, it's the same with magazine articles. It's all about fat and sugar content and the kind of additives and coloring in food, but nothing about how it reaches your table and what happens after it ends up in the bin.
Well, we've only got 15 minutes for this presentation, so I think we'll have to limit what we say about the consequences of food waste. What do we want to concentrate on?
Well, I know some of the other presentations are looking at food and farming methods and what they do to the environment. So I think we'll avoid that. And the fact that in some countries, people can't afford the food grown on their own farms. That was covered last term.
Okay, we don't want to repeat stuff.
What concerns me above all else is that in a recession, governments should be encouraging business to find ways to cut costs. Apparently, supermarkets in the USA lose about 11% of their fruit to waste. That's throwing money away.
All right, we'll focus on that problem. It should get the others' attention anyway. Now, how do you want to begin the presentation? Let's not start with statistics, though. because that's what everybody does.
I agree. How about we give the other students a set of questions to answer about what they suspect they waste every day?
I'm fine with that. Probably a better option than showing pictures of landfill sites. It'll be more personalized that way.
All right. Now let's start.
Now the next part of questions.
Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Okay, shall we now have a look at the projects that different researchers and organizations are working on?
For me, the project I really liked was the one at Tufts University. You know, where they've invented tiny edible patches to stick on fresh foods that show you what level of bacteria is present, and so whether you can still eat it.
It's a great idea, as it tells you if you need to hurry up and eat the food before it goes off. The other good thing about the patches is that apparently they'll be cheap to manufacture.
Good. Then the other thing I thought was great was the Massachusetts Institute of Technology project.
I hadn't seen that.
Well, they've developed these sensors that can detect tiny amounts of ethylene. Ethylene is the natural plant hormone in fruit that makes them turn ripe, apparently. The researchers think that they can attach the sensors to cardboard boxes, and then supermarkets can scan the sensors with a portable device to see how ripe the fruit inside is. That's got to be a quicker way to check for ripeness than taking each box off the shelf and opening it.
Definitely. And I thought that Lean Path was worth mentioning too. Their waste tracking technology means that caterers can see how much food is being wasted and why. That'll increase profits for them eventually.
Yes. And did you read about 0%? They've produced this smartphone application that allows restaurants to send donation alerts to food charities. The charities can then pick up the unwanted food and distribute it to people in need.
In the long run, that'll definitely benefit poorer families in the neighborhood. No kid should go to school hungry.
I agree. And I read that quite a few local governments in the USA are thinking about introducing compulsory composting in their states. So you can't put any food waste into your rubbish bins, just the compost bin.
Well, I guess that means a bit more work for people. I mean, they have to separate the organic and inorganic waste themselves before they take it out to the compost bin. And you know how lazy some people are. But I guess if we all start composting, then we'd be doing something positive about the problem of food waste ourselves, rather than relying on the government to sort it out. Having said that, not everyone has a garden, so
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Recording 54. You will hear a lecture about Maori kite making. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Kritish, I see your question. Ma'am, instructions are important. Yes, they are. They are very important. If it's written, write one word for each answer. Your answer should be only one word. A भी नहीं लिख सकते आप. A man अगर आपने लिख दिया तो वो 2 words हो गए. So it should be only one word.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Well, good morning, everyone. As you know, we've been looking at different kinds of art and craft that were practiced by the Maori people of New Zealand, at least before the Europeans began to arrive in the 18th century. So, the focus of this lecture is kite making, how the kites were made, their appearance, and the purposes they served. Well, let's start with the way they were made. As with other Maori artistic traditions, kite making involved certain rituals. So, firstly, only priests were allowed to fly and handle the largest, most sacred kites. There were rules too, for the size and scale of the kites that the priests had to follow, and during the preparation of both small and large kites, food was strictly forbidden. In terms of appearance, kites were frequently designed in the image of a native bird, or a Maori god, and sometimes, perhaps less often, a well-known hero. You can imagine that when Maori first arrived in the new country, in New Zealand, it may have taken some time to find suitable materials for their kites. But through trial and error, no doubt, they found plants and trees that provided bark and even roots that they could use to make the frames and wings of their kites. And after the frame had been constructed, the kite then had to be decorated. For this, the priests used long grasses, and these, when the kite was in the air, would stream along behind it. They also used a variety of feathers to add colour to their creations. Well, all this meant it was easy to see a kite in the sky, but you could also hear Maori kites. They could be quite noisy indeed, and this was because some priests liked to hang a long row of shells from the kite. You can imagine how they'd rattle and clatter in the wind, how they might completely capture your attention. As I said before, the most common image was probably a bird, and that's the same for other kite-making cultures. But the kites were designed in particular shapes. So, there were kites that were triangular, rectangular, and also shaped like a diamond. And some of them were so large it would actually require several men to operate them. Some of the kites were also covered in patterns, and to make these patterns, the Maori used different pigments of red and black, and these were either made from a charcoal base or from red-brown clay which had been combined with oil obtained from a local species of shark. Now, before I forget, if you have a chance, do visit the Auckland Museum, because they have the last surviving Birdman kite on display. This is the kind of kite that has a wooden mask at the top of the frame. It's a mask of a human head, and you can clearly see it has a tattoo and also a set of teeth. Quite impressive, and a good example of Maori craftsmanship and symbolism. Right, turning to the purpose and function of the kites. They certainly had multiple uses. Primarily, the flying of kites was a way of communicating with the gods, and when the kites rose into the air, the Maori used them to deliver messages, perhaps requesting a good harvest, good fortune in war, a successful hunting expedition. So these kites were incredibly valuable to a community, treasured objects that one generation would pass to the next. People would also fly kites for other reasons. For example, to attract the attention of a neighbouring village. This was done when a meeting was required between Maori elders, a convenient method indeed. And finally, when it comes to war, there are traditional stories that describe how when a Maori warrior found himself surrounded by his enemies, a kite could actually provide the possibility of escape. The kites were powerful enough to take a man up into the air, and for this reason, they could also be used to lower him into enemy fortifications so that an attack could begin from the inside. Well, I'm happy to say there seems to be a revival and growing interest in kite making.
Alright then, this is the end of the listening examination. Now, a set of mock questions for speaking. Part 1. Do you often use numbers to do something? Are you good at memorizing numbers? What is your favorite number? Are you good at numbers? Would you like to have a job dealing with numbers? Part 2 questions. Talk about a positive change in your life. One second. Yeah. Talk about a positive change in your life. When did this change happen? How was your life before this change? How is your life now? And what is this change so special to you? Or why is this change so special to you? Now, part 3 questions. What are the advantages of strong family relationships? How many generations are usually living under one roof in your country? What are the benefits and drawbacks of a family of several generations living together? Do parents have equal responsibilities in taking care of their children? Now, after that, we'll move to the writing task. Remember to install the Unacademy Learning app. Follow me on Unacademy, Aayushi Rajput, Aayushi. Take an Unacademy Plus subscription, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. When you make a payment, use the code AAYUSHI Aayushi and you'll get a 10% off, 20% off depending on the subscription. If you have any other doubts, talk to me on Telegram on the channel IELTS by AAYUSHI, IELTS by Aayushi on Telegram. Now, yeah, the writing part. This is your task 1. There's a public park near where you live. You have, oh no, I think this test is for academic, right? One second, just give me 1 second. Let's have a question for academic writing. Yes, this is the question. The chart below gives information on the percentage of British people giving money to charity by age range for the years 1990 and 2010. So, time period of 20 years here, and summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Now, you've been given data for the year 1990, you've been given data for the year 2010, then you have age range, like people in the age group of 18 to 25, people in the age group of 26 to 35, 36 to 50, 51 to 56, and greater than 65, so whose age is more than 65, and here's the percentage of income that they donate. Yellow is for 1990, green is for 2010. So you have to compare the information. What are the trends? Did it increase? Did it decrease? What was the change according to different age groups, etc. Now pause the video and solve it. You will get approximately 20 minutes to solve it. You have to write this in 20 minutes. But remember, you should practice to write it in 15 to 17 minutes so that in the end, you have 2-3 minutes to check your answers for errors, mistakes, and any kind of typing and grammatical problems in the answer so that you can erase it and correct it. Remember, you have to write using a pencil. And this entire task, report writing, should be done in 150 words, minimum 150. You can write a little bit more than 150, like 160, 170, 180, but you cannot write 145. Now, this is your sample answer. The chart examines the levels of donation among people of different ages in Britain. Overall, a greater percentage of British people gave money to charity in 1990 than in 2010. However, across the 2 years, the pattern differs before and after the age of 50. In 1990, 42% of the 36 to 50 age group made charitable donations, and this figure is the highest on the chart. The 18 to 25s contributed the least at only 17%, but by 2010, these figures had fallen significantly to 35% and 7% respectively. The level of donations from the 26 to 35 age group also experienced a decrease in 2010 from 31% to 24%, while donations up to the age of 50 declined across the 2 years. They rose among the 51 to 65 age group from 35% to nearly 40%, which was the highest percentage for 2010. The figure for the over 65s were lower than this at 35%, but it was still a little higher than the 1990 figure of 32%. So this is how you have to arrange the information, but remember there should always be an overview sentence, like one sentence overview of the entire information. Now this is your task 2. Some people believe that today's teenagers have more stressful lives than previous generations. Discuss this view and give your own opinion. You have 40 minutes to write this essay, but remember, out of the 40 minutes, keep at least 5 minutes in the end to check your errors and at least 5 minutes in the beginning to organize your answer, write all the bullet points and arrange the information so that your answer is coherent and cohesive. Remember the marking criteria: grammatical range and accuracy, avoiding repetition of vocabulary and using high-level words, coherence and cohesion in writing, as well as task completion with respect to the question, completing the points given in the question, and completing the word limit. So, when you're at home or when you're giving a mock test, try to write an essay in 30 to 33 minutes. 30 minutes to 33 minutes. Don't take more than 35 minutes to write an essay, otherwise it's too slow and it will be very slow for you in the exam. So now take your time. You approximately have 30-35 minutes to write this essay. I'm going to be back in a bit, and just take your time, write this essay, and of course you can share your answers with me in any of the free classes on Unacademy or on my Telegram channel. So install the Unacademy Learning app and yeah, let's crack it. After the end of the session, I'm going to show you the answers and the sample answer for this essay. But till then, just try on your own. Okay, now let's look at the answers. Yeah. So this is your sample answer for writing task 2. Despite a continuing improvement in standard of living, many people believe that young people suffer more stress than older generations. In this essay, the argument surrounding the issue of teenage stress will be discussed. This is the introduction, paragraph number 1. Then, next paragraph, or it's called the body paragraph. Firstly, teenagers are exposed to more products than earlier generations as a result of living in a modern consumer society. Through films and media, they see celebrities and expensive jewelry, clothes, and cars. In addition, youth oriented advertising gives them an awareness of the latest technology, such as digital music formats and mobile phones. Consequently, teenagers feel pressure to acquire these items. Some might argue that these pressures are not new. However, I believe that such stresses were not so strong during earlier times. It could also be argued that pressures at school are stronger than before. In order to achieve the lifestyle they see in the media, teenagers must succeed in their studies so they can com- compete for the best jobs. Parental pressure, examinations, and homework are all reported as causing increased levels of strain. On the other hand, although it may be true to say that modern society produces certain stresses, it does not necessarily mean that stress was previously absent. In earlier times, hunger and physical discomfort would undoubtedly have caused high levels of anxiety, as would hard physical labor, for example, walking down a mine. Any balanced view must take into account these alternative factors. To sum up, consumerism and academic pressures, academic pressures are powerful causes of stress on today's teenagers. Nevertheless, it's my view that these stresses are no greater than those experienced by earlier generations of teenagers. So yeah, this is a perfect essay where this would be your introduction, body paragraph, and conclusion. And it's divided into two body paragraphs, one and the second one. Right. Now, remember, you have to install the Unacademy Learning app. Follow me on Telegram, follow me on Unacademy, and use the referral code AAYUSHI to get discounts on Unacademy subscriptions. Now, these are your reading answers. Remember spellings, the mode of writing, plural, singular, each, s, all of these things are important. So if you have not written, if the answer is connection, if you've written connections, then it's wrong. Okay, so singular is singular, plural is plural. You have to be very careful. You can't make mistakes in those areas. So these are your uh, answers for question number 1 to 40 in the reading section. Now, one more thing that's very important, that if you're getting a score that is below 30, if you're getting a score that's below 30, less than 30, it's a very bad score. If you're getting a score that's between 30 to 33, 34, it's a decent score. And if you're getting a minimum 35 plus somewhere around 38, 40, this is a very good score. So if you're getting less than 35, then you should take an Academy Plus subscription. Now, similarly, these are your answers for the listening category. Here also instructions are very important. Spelling errors, singular, plural, each letter is important. Okay. And here for question number 11, 12, 13 and 14. For question 11, answer is B. For question 12, answer is E. But here you can write them in any order. E could be 11, B could be 12. Similarly, B could be 13 or it could be 14. C could be 13 or it could be 14. So remember, for 11, 12, 13 and 14, they can be in either order. Here also in the listening exam, it's very easy, very scoring. You should get 40 out of 40 and you should get a 9 band. My own score was 9 in listening and 8.5 in reading. So you can also get the same high score if you study with me on Unacademy. So today I have not taught you anything, but then I'll teach you the tips and tricks and strategies and how to do these questions perfectly and get a very high score. If you're getting less than 30, then that's a lot of trouble. You should worry about this and you should take an Unacademy Plus subscription as soon as possible. Take it for 3 months and we'll finish everything: reading, listening, speaking, writing, everything. If your score is around 35, then that's decent, and more than 35 is considered a good score in listening. So this is how you can see that for whatever score, the corresponding band that you will get. So in reading, to get a 7 band, you need to do at least 34 questions correctly. And in listening, to get a 7 band, you need to do at least 30 questions correctly. But remember, the marking criteria for the admission criteria for many good universities are above 7.5 and 7 and above 8 band. So yeah, for that you will have to work really hard. So yeah, that is all for the class tonight. See you people again, and yeah, good luck, stay safe, stay at home, and study hard.